Hey guys and gals, welcome to Rockin' the Retired Life. Today, we brought you up here on our mountain just to show you what we do when we're camping off-grid, no electricity, no water source. These are the items that we usually rely on when we're up here in the mountains. So I hope you enjoy the show. Make sure that you check the description for affiliate links that will get you the kind of products that I'm going to show you today. We also enjoy seeing your comments, so please put your tips for living off-grid or camping off-grid in a camper in the mountains.
Camping off-grid in the wintertime can be very uncomfortable unless you have a Four Seasons camper and you have lots of blankets and lots of ways to keep warm, especially when temperatures get below zero. So make sure your camper can handle that. And you're going to need some additional sources of power.
So here's our backup source of power, the Bluetti AC70. These come in much larger sizes, but this one's really easy to lug around. We like to leave it in our camper. It survives just fine in the cold. And as you can see, I just turned it on. It's been out here for about a month in very cold temperatures. It's still got 90% power in it. So we're going to plug our Starlink in right here. All we'd have to do is hit the AC button. That turns on these AC outputs. We have solar panels that we plug in right here, and that brings power into the Bluetti while it's charging. The only thing is you don't want to charge your Bluetti when it's really cold. Make sure you check the specifications on that. But we can keep our phones charged here. We've got USB hookups. And this thing keeps us going off grid. We can plug our refrigerator into it, our Starlink into it, run solar into it, and keep it powered all through the day. So the Bluetti AC70, highly recommend it. There's a link in the description so you can get yours. Starlink keeps us going all winter long and through the summer months with internet. I tell you what, this thing keeps us plugged into the internet, through the stars, up in the sky, without fail. All we got to do is plug this guy into our Bluetti, and it starts taking some power from the Bluetti, and that's how we get internet out here. Another really good feature to have on your fifth wheel or camper is to have an inverter and to have solar power. We have a 200 watt solar panel on top of our rig, and that keeps us with power to our batteries so they can trickle charge all through the winter. It goes right into here, keeps these guys charged up so that every time we come back or when we have to stay off grid, we've got 12 volt power here. To generate your own electricity, you're going to need a generator. This comes on board with our Cyclone fifth wheel. It's an Onan 5500. This guy is plenty of power, but it's also good to have a backup generator, especially if you're going to be staying for long periods of time in cold temperatures. Here's what we use. This is our backup generator, and we use it quite a bit. It's a Furman WHO3242. It can also run on propane, and we use this guy a lot. Very dependable. If my other generator is not running or if I need an extra generator, this guy fires up every time. I'll put a link in the description box if you want to get more information on this. Another thing that you'll need to make sure you're able to keep your generator running all winter long is fuel. And we, in our toy hauler, fortunately, we have 2 fuel tanks here, and we also are able to pump from one tank to the other. But in order to get fuel out here, what I need is a really good gas can. Here's what we use. This is our Just Right safety can. I can't tell you how many times I've used this can in the last several years, and without fail, it's easy to transport, it's safe. I'm going to put a link in the description so you can get one of these. Highly recommend these for transporting fuel back and forth from the gas pump to your camper. Another thing that's important to have is propane. That's going to keep your heater going, and it's also going to keep your stove working. There's multiple uses for propane. If you are going to be camping for long periods of time, get a larger tank. We just run it in right through here, plug it in right through there, and we've got propane all winter long. Now, speaking of heat, it's always good to keep warm in the wintertime, right? So it's good to have another alternate source of heat in case your heater goes out or you run out of propane to your fifth wheel or camper. And this guy runs off a small propane tank. It's called a heat hog. You can actually run it inside of the camper. It's totally safe to run indoors or outdoors. It's called Heat Hog. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out as well. The other thing that's important to do is make sure that your tires on your rig are covered up all through the entire winter. We've had these for about 3 years. As you can see, I'm starting to get some holes, and but these are very, very sturdy tire covers. They've lasted us very well for the last 3 years, and I'll put a link in the description for these as well. Okay, so what about grilling out in the wintertime? You gotta have one of these as well. This is really easy to use. It's a Coleman road trip grill. We use this thing all the time when we're camping. It runs on a very small propane can, but you can get an extension to run it off of a bigger propane source, and it comes in handy. It works great for grilling out, even in the wintertime. Another very useful item to have is a composting toilet. We use a Trelino Evo composting toilet. I'll put a link to the video where we reviewed this in the past. You definitely want to check it out if you're interested in a composting toilet. It fits very nicely right in our RV's bathroom, and you can put it just about anywhere. It's also important to have a water source of some kind. We usually haul 5-gallon water to our camper, keep it out there through the winter, and that way we never run out of water. Another important thing to have is an emergency first aid kit. You never know when you're going to need that. It's also important to know what kind of critters are roaming around at night. That's why I use these Wasoda cameras. They work really good for picking up video and picking up movement at night. That way I can see what's running around outside, because we get lots of critters out here. And it only runs on 4 AA batteries. And then I also use a couple different brands of cameras that I'll put in the description. But these are really cool to have around, so you know what's roaming around outside when you're not watching. So if you put a trail cam around a tree and you can't find it, look for downed trees. Good job, honey. You found that one.
I'm glad we weren't out here when the winds knocked all these trees over.
No doubt. So it'll be interesting to see what's on this camera. Another thing that's important to have, especially up here in the mountains where we see a lot of critters, a lot of predators, is to have some protection on you. Bear spray is a really good deterrent, and we use a couple different kinds. I'll put a link for those as well. Fortunately, we have not ever had to use those, but we've got all kinds of tracks, as you can see, going through we call this the catwalk, because this is where I spotted a cougar one day. But this is mostly from deer, and it's good to have protection with you, especially when you're walking through the mountains. You never know what you're going to run up on. Hey there, little guy.